oh, gotta get it done. Afraid you guys won't get enlightened unless I give you the whole thing by tomorrow noon. When do we quit?
12.
Oh, 12:30. Oh my God! Can we stay tonight late? Yeah. How do they bind? How do these gunas bind? That's the next topic. L. They bind by attachment to results. Attachment to relative knowledge, and attachment to thoughts and emotions. You mean you feel that you have to have what you have to have. We already discussed this. The Karma Yoga is the solution to this. To what? Bondage to results. We got to get away from this idea that I have to have what I have to have when I have to have it, and it needs to be the way I want it. If you have that feeling, and everybody's got that feeling inside, because everybody's got this ego that wants what it wants, then that's where your attachment is. You want a particular result. It's okay to want a result, but once you've been offered, and it's okay to work to get a result. We're not saying you shouldn't go for what you want at all. We're not saying you shouldn't want a result. We're saying that once you do the action, that whatever anxiety there is about the result, that should be what? Offloaded along with the action. Why? Because it's totally illegitimate to remain keep that anxiety for the result, that attachment to the result, because it's out of your hands. If it's still in your hands, okay, worry about it. Okay, be attached to it, fair enough. But once you've offered it, all this worry about what's going to happen is totally a waste of time. It's not doing you any good. In fact, it's doing you harm. Why? Because the worry about result A that you've just done is going to compromise the timely and efficient response that's required to solve problem B, which is coming up right next. In other words, your next desire and your next action. If you want to be efficient in life, you have to let go of the result. You have to consign the result to the field, and that clears your mind so that you can deal with the next thought that's going to produce the next action, and what, and so forth and so on. Understand? It's okay up until the point at which you do the action. But as soon as the action's done, forget it. Totally a waste of time. And you know, you do this action, and then what do? You don't sleep at night. Why don't you sleep at night? Because you're worried about whether you're going to get what you want. Whether there's going to be enough money to pay for this. Or whether your wife is going to love you tomorrow. Or whatever it is. You said that to your wife. Too bad. Just calm down and go to sleep, and what? And if she doesn't come and snuggle you tonight, that's fine. But you said it. And when she gets around to, like, you know, works around her, in her mind, when it's all okay and she comes back and gives you a snuggle, then, you know, fair enough. But in between, you shouldn't feel bad about it, because it's out of your hands. Or maybe you should just think, well, why am I full of anxiety? And maybe I said something that was contrary to Dharma, and maybe that's why she could think like that. So you could correct yourself, and you could, the next time around, when you got in that situation, you could control what you said to your wife or your husband, and say something that was pleasing and helpful, useful for that person. So maybe that's a good thing to do. But worrying about how she or he is going to take what you said or did is totally pointless, because you're not in control of them. All beings follow their nature. They're in control. The gunas are controlling everybody. So the result is going to come from the guna, not from them. So it's totally pointless to worry about it. So what use is control? You're only worried because you want to control it, because you want to get them to give you the result that you want. But it's out of their hands and it's out of your hands. You just have to like surrender it and be happy. I fucked up, so what? When I married my wife, you know, the first wife, I said, you know, she used to do things, obviously, that, you know, things that irritated me. It was small things. In fact, the only issue that I ever remember, even today, that we had was she would never put the strainer back in the sink. You know, there's a strainer over the kitchen sink, and that's to catch globs of food, and that, you know, so that you don't have to get the plumber and pour some chemicals down there. You know, in my case, we lived out in the mountains, and we had a sink, but it wasn't a proper house. We had water pipe, you know, coming from the stream, and that little pump that brought the water in, but the effluent from the dishes and so forth and so on, it didn't go into a sewer system. I had a little drain system, and if she'd left that off, and mice would sometimes go down in there, and they'd get caught and stuck, and then the water back up, then I'd have to change the pipes and cut them all and do that. And I've lived 20 miles from town across a river, and it was a huge hassle. So I just wanted her, can you please put this back in the thing? Can you please do that? Because I know she wasn't going to fix it. Right? She never did it. Yeah. And,
Let it go.
Right. And you know how she taught me? You know, and so I would whine. I'd whine. You know, I'd say, you know, what? I just asked you. I've been asking you for the last 2 months. Will you please put that back? Because I'm worried. You know, a spoon might fall down in there, and then I have to try to fish it out, or cut the pipes, and then I have to go all this. You know what she said to me? Just finished it off. She said, I messed up, so what? That was her response to everything. I messed up, so what? Yeah, so what? I gave up. That was the field telling me, you know, cool your jets, man, take it easy. There's little things in life that you can't control. If she, you know, and she wasn't ready to be manipulated by me. Huh? That was her nature. She never took any shit from anybody. She just admitted it. Yep, it's my fault. Even if it wasn't her fault. Yeah, it's my fault, so what? Huh? Good, huh? Great one. Huh? You know, she wasn't into denial. You know, because usually when you accuse somebody of something, they have an excuse. And that excuse is the denial. They're denying your responsibility for it, or they're giving you a good reason for doing it, which means that, you know, they don't want to accommodate you, or they think that their way is better than your way, or whatever it is. And for you to try to fix another person, it's the height of folly. Huh? You may have teenage kids. Do you ever try to fix a teenage kid? Huh? Good luck. Really good luck with that. Huh? And you could waste all this energy saying, you know, you try to get them to do this and try to get them and tell them all the good things and the wonderful things and all this. They don't give a damn. Their Rogers and Thomas is like full on. They're totally neurotic, and they're going to do what they're going to do whether you like it or not. And if you don't like it, they just lie to you. That's all. And you wonder, why does he lie? He's a good kid. I raised him right. Why does he keep lying to me? You know? Well, lying works up to a point. At least it keeps you, you know, in his mind, it keeps you from, you know, attacking him every 5 minutes over his behavior. I learned to lie. I was a good liar. I could fool my mother about 80, 90% of the time, and the other 10, 15%, I just took my punishment. It was worth it. No, really. Because nothing was ever right. And I thought, and she was trying to tell me there's something wrong with me, and I knew there wasn't anything wrong with me. It just, everything I was doing was totally natural. It felt totally right and totally natural to me, but it didn't feel totally right and natural to her. And I thought, and I loved my mother. She was really a good mom. And then I thought, how am I going to solve this problem? I just started lying. And it worked. It was really a good strategy. You know, until later on when I, started lying in situations where I shouldn't have been lying, and where the punishments started to get a little more severe. And then I started thinking about this lying option, But you can't, it's out of your control. What happens is out of your control. You just do what you do, and then and if you do it in the right spirit, you'll sleep well at night, and you won't worry about it. And your mind will be available for the next problem. Because you think you came here to enjoy, you're wrong. You came here to troubleshoot. You came here to fix problems. And if you fix them efficiently and you accept that you're here for that, then you can get great joy out of this life. But if you think you're just, that the life is preventing you from enjoying, then you're wrong. It's not preventing you. It's your attitude toward life and your inability to what? Take on what life is asking of you, or your unwillingness to take on what life is asking you that's causing the problem. So that's a solution there. So attachment to results, attachment to relative knowledge. You say you want to be free, but you study Enneagram all day. Well, Enneagram is very nice, but what? Enneagrams or whatever it is, astrology, or any one of these soft sciences, okay, they're fine. They maybe give you a little knowledge about I'm a 8 with a 7 wing and a something something. Okay, good. I had a guy, he was the guy who wrote Enneagram for Dummies. And I'm a kind of colorful character, and so he wanted to do my Enneagram. So he did my Enneagram. And I learned I was an 8 with a 7 wing or something. And then there's some other thing too. They give you 3 designations.
You got both wings.
Oh, both, yeah, I don't.
Yeah, and then there is one where it's like
instinctual
five path like thing.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
That's the variant. If you're a social person or...
Yeah. Well, I was the most accurate reading about my ego that I'd ever had. It was about 90% right. But so what? I didn't know that. Of course I knew that all along. That's how I knew it was right. So what am I supposed to do with this knowledge? Go around and everybody I meet tell them I'm an 8 with a 7 wing and a this and that. I'm an astrologer. I'm a Aquarius with a Pisces moon and a something ascendant, whatever it is, and a moon square Jupiter in the 4th house and the 5th. Okay. Then next, what next? We get all wrapped up in this. These Gunas get us all fascinated with our little relative self here, and we seek all this kind of relative knowledge. What good does it do you, basically? It doesn't set you free. There's no way out. Does the astrology? I studied astrology for a couple of years when I was spiritual. When I dropped out after a serious doses of LSD, I thought, oh, astrology, that's cool, So I got all the books and read all the stuff and had my chart done and started figuring out the lunation cycle. Oh, the lunation cycle. That just means the moon goes around and causes little things, I thought that was really profound. I wasted 2 years. Yeah, I could talk your ear off about astrology, but what good did it do? It was, nothing. It didn't do any good. It was a waste of time. But I was also fascinated with this relative knowledge here. We're not interested in knowledge of this for any other reason than to discover that we're this. This is only a stepping stone to that. And you need to know, this is not just relative knowledge. It's a relative tool operating in the relative, in the apparent reality. There's no knowledge of this because why? This is beyond the knowledge. We don't give you knowledge of the self. We get rid of your ignorance of who you are. It's clear that you're awareness and that you're existent. That you're existent and you're aware. That's what the self is. It's your existence and your awareness. It's not clear that you're limitless. You're 2/3 enlightened when you come here. You know you exist and you know you're aware. You just don't know that you're limitless. And that sense of limitation that you have that's associated with your jiva person, that what we remove but with this, the unexamined logic of your own experience. In other words, with knowledge that you don't have about yourself. We remove your beliefs and opinions that stand in the way of your appreciation of yourself as limitless awareness. Because right now, as a reflected awareness, I feel limited. Because I've associated my limited awareness with the subtle body, which is what? Is controlled, regulated, and governed by the gunas. So it looks like my awareness is guna awareness. Yeah. I seem to be limited by the gunas. And we've got to take that belief away that you are your gunas, that you are the gunas that are operating in you. So don't ever say that I'm rajasic, I'm tamasic, or I'm sattvic. Don't ever say that. Why not?
That's the ego coming in.
Yeah, that's right. Because the self is not triguna tita, it's beyond the gunas. So, and there's only one I, remember. That I is pure consciousness, limitless, existent consciousness. And that's you. And so for you to say you're rajasic, tamasic, or sattvic means what? You're identifying with your ego. The condition that your ego's in at the moment. It's really odd that you would say that I'm tamasic, rajasic, or sattvic, isn't it? Because, then which one are you? Your own experience shows you that you're only one conscious being, doesn't it? There's not two of you, is there? Or three of you? Or 4, 5, or 6? No, there's not. There's only one of you, and you know that. Does anybody have a doubt about that? No, you can't, because there's only one of you. Okay, I'm rajasic. Now, say, then you identify with the thought that's that rajasic energy, that guna that's there at the time. What happens to the I when I becomes tamasic? Now, you're tamasic because the tamaguna is there. So which one are you? You just said you were rajasic, but now the gunas changed, and now you say you're tamasic. Well, which one are you? Because you can't be both. Which one is it? Oh, now the guna changes and sattvic. You say, I'm sattvic. Oh, so there's three of you. There's a sattvic you, a rajasic you, and a tamasic you. Is that right? Is there three of you? Well, what's connecting all three of those gunas? No, there's only one of you that what? Is ignorant of your nature as awareness and what? And fooled by the appearance of the guna that is operating the subtle body. The gunas are what we call upadis. And upadi is like, I'll give you an example. Sorry, I know I'm going over. We've got to have our break and all that, but never mind. It's good. I'm on a roll. I get that all in before 12:30 tomorrow. Okay, I'm sitting here and I'm reading my scripture. I'm happy, and it's in the break, and then somebody comes up, and somebody, and I have a little table in front of me where I put my book when I'm not looking at it. And somebody come up and they saw me like I was totally absorbed, and they had a rose for me. They wanted to give me a rose because they so much appreciated my wonderful teachings. But they didn't want to disturb me because they were so humble and respectful. So they said, he's busy studying his scripture. I'll just put the rose here. on his little table, and then I'll humbly go back to my seat. I don't want any credit for serving the guru. So I'm sitting here, and I don't know there's a red rose here. I'm just, And then somebody comes up, and they're not quite as humble, and they want to get my attention. So they stand right here, and they say, Ramji, that's my spiritual name, Ramji. Ramji, I've got a present for you. I want to offer a present to you. And they open their hand and they said, this is a Swarovski crystal and it's all for you. It's just like you, Ramji. You're just radiant facets of light, shining knowledge everywhere. And I want to offer it to you. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, thank you very much. I always wanted a red crystal. And they said, that's not a red crystal. I said, that certainly is a red crystal. So that's not a red crystal, that's a clear crystal. Now what is it? Is it a red crystal or is it a clear crystal?
Crystal, it looks like a red crystal.
It's, Anna's got it right. It's a clear crystal, appears to be a red crystal, doesn't it? It's not red, is it? But from my point of view, I can't see the rose, so I see what? A red crystal. I don't know that it's a clear crystal because what? The crystal is transferring, the red rose is transferring its what? Its power, its color to the crystal. But I don't see that happening. So I assume that I'm getting it's not true, but it's true for me because I don't see the upadi. The upadi is what it is that transfers attributes to the self. The self is clear. It has no qualities. It's nirgunaha. It's the qualities are all here. Saguna, there, Ishwar's got all the qualities, but the self is nirguna. It has no qualities. So what? It's easy for what? The rajas, tamas, and sattva to transfer to the self. So the self looks like it's rajasic, tamasic, or sattvic. So when you say, I'm rajasic, tamasic, or sattvic, you've been fooled by the guna. You've been looking at the guna and you've associated the I with the guna, not with what? The not self. You've just associated the I with the guna, not with what? I'm sorry, not the not self. You associated the I with the guna, you haven't appreciated your nature as guna-free. Because you're always guna-free. Understand? But because of ignorance, and lack of appreciation of these gunas, of what these gunas do, I make the incorrect statement that I'm tamasic, I'm rajasic, and I'm sattvic. The mind is subject to the gunas, and so when tamas is there, you say, my mind is very tamasic today. That's the correct statement. Today, at this moment, my mind is very tamasic, and but I am what? I'm the awareness of the tamas. So now where have you situated yourself? In the I, in consciousness. You haven't situated yourself in the guna. When you situate yourself in one of the gunas, you what? You take on the quality and character of the guna. And you suffer accordingly. Whereas, that's all. And there's no reason why you need to identify with these gunas when you understand these gunas. Because what? You cannot have guna knowledge without a presence of awareness. In other words, you're always present when the guna is present. So all it's required is for you to do is what? Shift your attention to the self. What do you see? What is this? What is this? Hand. I know, you guys are suspicious now. You know I'm up to, you always know I'm up to something, huh? I say, you say it's a hand. So you say there's one thing here. I say there's two things here. Think about it. What else is there beside a hand?
The reflection of the hand.
Light. Light. Yeah. Right. Well, why did you say there's a hand?
'Cause you can
Why didn't you say there's a hand bathed in light? Why didn't you say that? Even though you actually experienced the light, you couldn't have experienced the hand unless you experienced the light, could you? So you're actually experiencing the light and the hand, but you say, I see a hand. And why do you do that?
Foreground.
Huh?
Focus on the foreground.
Yeah, yeah. You're focusing on the foreground, not the background. You don't see the self, you see the guna. Because the guna is what? In the foreground. And the self's in the background. And you are the self, you are the background. But because you look at the guna, you ignore who you are. And who you are is always present with every guna. Because how are you going to know the guna unless you're aware? So guna knowledge is dependent upon awareness. Understand? So the way you get out, this is called jnanam or direct or practice of knowledge. We're talking now knowledge yoga, not karma yoga. Knowledge yoga is what? I directly what? Apprehend awareness by discriminating the guna from the self. Quick. But I can't do that effectively if I haven't reduced my emotional, my rajasic and tamasic emotions to a manageable proportion. Because why? Because my mind will continue to remain extroverted. The pressure of the rajas will extrovert my mind so that I don't see the self behind the guna. That's why you need karma yoga before you can practice triguna vibhava yoga. Triguna vibhava yoga is knowledge yoga. There you what? You disassociate yourself from the guna simply by knowledge, by discrimination. But when